Okay, today we're going to make chicken and dumplings. I have a big pot. I can't make a little of it. I make a lot. If you want to have it or whatever, go right ahead. That's fine. To that pot, I have added two 48-ounce containers of chicken broth. I get this from Aldi. It is the number one chicken broth going. I think it's not salty, great value, and it's good. To that, we are going to add 1 stick of butter. Chicken and dumplings is not low-cal. We're going to bring all this up to a boil. I'm also going to add in a tablespoon of chicken base. I'll show you the one that I use. It is better than bouillon. It just adds a lot of flavor to the pot. So I'll put that in. If I can get it off the spoon. Then we're just going to add in a lot of black pepper, probably a teaspoon and a half, and a little bit of salt. I'm going to not add a ton of salt right now because I'll taste it after it cooks. Then we're going to add in this package of 2-pound pack of chicken tenderloins. They are obviously raw. We're going to cook those in this pot of boiling broth once it comes up to a boil. Okay, we put our chicken tenderloins in there. We're going to let that come up to a boil. When it comes up to a boil, I'll turn it down slightly because it's close to the top of my pan with a lid on, and I'll let it cook about 20 to 25 minutes. You just want that chicken really tender, like falling apart tender, because I'm going to shred it anyway to put it in my dumplings. So go ahead and let that cook. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start on our dumplings while that chicken is cooking. I use Hudson Cream self-rising flour if I can find it. I always use self-rising flour. So in a huge bowl, I've added 4 cups of self-rising flour. I've kind of made a well in the middle, and I've used probably a teaspoon of black pepper. To this bowl, I'm going to add buttermilk, and I'm going to add it half a cup at a time and stir it in. Now to this bowl so far, I have added a cup and a half of buttermilk. Remember, that was 4 cups of flour. And I'm stirring. I'm not finished stirring yet, but I know this isn't going to be enough milk. And the reason I'm showing you this is because I just have to show you what the dumplings are supposed to look like, what the mix is. So I'm going to continue adding milk in half-cup increments till it gets where I want, and I will show you what that consistency looks like. Okay, now this has come together the way I want it to. It's much like biscuit dough. You can see there's no more flour around. It's coming away from the sides. And the magic number on the milk was 2 cups. If you do not have buttermilk, you can just use regular milk or sweet milk, some people call it, but red top, blue top, whatever. You can just use regular milk. I've never made it with evaporated milk. I guess you could try that. I don't know. You're on your own if you do that, because I have no idea. I am also going to add a little bit more chicken base to this. People do not season their dumplings. And if you bite into them and they're big, like mine are, if you haven't seasoned them, they're kind of, the flavor's flat. So I will add in a teaspoon and a half of chicken base to this and mix it around. Okay, there's the dumplings dough ready to go. The next step is really important. While that chicken finishes, let this dough rest. Let it sit till your chicken is completely finished cooking. You just want that time for the gluten fibers and everything to relax a little bit. We're going to drop this by tablespoonfuls into our broth once the chicken is finished cooking. I will take the chicken out when I do that and add it back in. But now, after we put our dumplings in, we haven't done that yet, and they cook, we're going to want to thicken our gravy, our broth that our chicken and our dumplings have cooked in. And the easiest way to do that without having lumps is to make a beurre marnay, which is basically a fancy way of saying equal parts butter and flour. You're going to take softened butter. I have 1 tablespoon and a tablespoon of flour. And you are going to mix that together until it's kind of a dry, clumpy mess. I'll show you in just a second. Okay, that's what it looks like mixed together. And what I will do is, rather than take up all those dumplings out of that kettle, I will drag that fork with those little bits of butter and flour back and forth through my hot broth when my dumplings are just about done. And that will thicken that to make a gravy without having to make a roux and pour that in and try to worry about lumps. I do that if I've got something that, like dumplings are already in the kettle. Now, if I was making gravy from scratch, I would do melted butter, flour in a pan, let it brown. But this is one of the few times that I do it this way. And it's a really easy way to thicken your gravy. If you need to lightly thicken soup or different things, this is a great way to do it without getting lumps. And I'll show you when we get to that step. Okay, I've taken my chicken out. I'm going to let that cool for a few minutes before I shred it. And you can see that my kettle is lightly boiling. It's not at a huge boil. I might turn that down just ever so slightly on the true medium. And we are going to start dropping our dumplings in here. All right, first thing I'm going to do is take my spoon that I mix my dumplings up with, and I'm going to drag it through this broth just to get it lightly coated. Then I'm going to go over here to my bowl and get a spoon of dumpling, about that much. The last ones I made were huge. I'm going to put it in there. It's going to drop right off. Coat it in the broth. Get another spoonful of dumpling, drop it in there, and so on. Oops, sorry for all that steam. And we're going to keep doing that till we've got a big old kettle of dumplings. Now you can see I've got my kettle full of beautiful dumplings. I'm going to put a lid on them and let them cook for about 10 minutes. I have not used all my broth or my dough. You can see I still have more dough in there. So this will be a 2-batcher. I'll have to take these up after they cook and cook another batch to use up the rest of my dough. If I didn't want to cook it all today, I could put it in the refrigerator, cover it, put it in the fridge, and have some fresh dumplings tomorrow. You just take it out and let it come up to room temperature. It would be fine. But we're going to let these cook about 10 to 12 minutes, and then I'm going to check them. Now these have been cooking about 10 minutes. I took one out to check and see if it was done. I cut into it. You can see how beautiful and fluffy and light that is in the middle. It's not doughy at all. And I'm going to take a bite, even though it is scaldingly, blisteringly hot. You can see how fluffy the tang from the buttermilk. It tastes really rich and chickeny. I am going to take these dumplings up and go ahead and drop my next batch in, because I'm going to go ahead and use up this dough that I have made up. I just had to show you that big, beautiful bowl of dumplings now that I've taken them up. I mean, they are huge and gorgeous and fluffy. Okay, there's the second batch of dumplings, and I went ahead and put our beurre marnay in there. That was our flour and butter mixture. That is cooking down with the second batch of dumplings to finish up my dough. It'll be nice, thick gravy. And there you have it. Chicken and dumplings. Old-fashioned drop dumplings, just the way my grandma made them. I hope y'all enjoy.